You see, grief is not always tidy. Sometimes it acts a lot like a raccoon stuck in a restaurant dumpster. It's all over the place, and rarely is grief ever linear. And I'm reminded of this by an article I just read this morning by a Chloe Carter on the Medium app. And basically, Chloe talks about her grandmother on her literal deathbed telling her mother the following: "You always took such good care of me. It's a shame I've always hated you." And isn't that something to really just kind of hogtie your daughter with on your deathbed? But what I found over the years, many years of working with literally thousands of people during some of the roughest times of their life, is that grief and words and shame, they're all very messy and they're all very difficult emotions. You know, I work with a bunch of psychiatrists day to day for several years, and I literally talked to thousands of people, many of them in their 70s, and they were hanging on to things that happened in their teenage years, their 20s, and really hanging on to things that they never landed. And it reminded me, this article, and also my experience working with all these people, reminded me of my experience with my mother. And I had to choose how I landed the relationship with my mother. She passed away without us properly saying goodbye. She had a massive heart attack. And our last few months literally were months that we weren't communicating with each other. I had a lot of grief about that. I had a lot of, misplaced emotions about that. But what I had to do is decide how to land the relationship in my mind, in the emotions. So the first thing I did feel the emotions. I did name the emotions. I did soak in the emotions and really feel the sadness, the loss. But also what I had to do is realize that I had a choice to hang on to the stinky part of the relationship, the ugly parts of the relationship, some of the memories that may not have been the best memories of my mother. And that's a difficult thing, to have memories of your mother that are not all that warm and fuzzy. Some of us, as a matter of fact, were raised by wolves. I say that term just to give reference to sometimes our parents did the best they could and it wasn't all that great. But when you're dealing with your parents, and also on how to land years of relationship and where to put that in a place, you kind of get the choice on how to land it. Because going back to the reference of all the people I talked to in the hospital bed, so many of them were racked with depression and sadness and utter, just locked down by relationships that they never dealt with, that they never put in a spot, as far as they never went through the work. And I definitely wanted to go through the work. So landing all of this, I wanted to tell you how I landed the relationship. Is I did have the benefit of putting my mother's ashes into a river with my family, and I didn't drag her through the ringer as far as with my words. I honored the great memories I had with my mother. I honored the blessings that she gave me, and that was what I chose to do. And sometimes that's really difficult to do when our parents, like I said, were not all necessarily warm and fuzzy. And what I do encourage all of you guys to do is, if you have difficult relationships that you have to land even after the relationship is over, do seek out some help, seek out some therapists, seek out a counselor, and seek out a psychiatrist if you have to, and get that dealt with. And don't let the unfinished business just stay with you for years and years, because that can have impact on your health. It can have impact on your wellness, on your mental wellness, and impact on just how you approach others. And that's probably the biggest thing I would say with my relationship, is that I'm glad I finally came full circle and decided to put the relationship with my mother in a good place, because it's not always easy to do. And it seems popular in our society to demonize and villainize people, especially when they don't have a word in edgewise if they're already passed away. These are just my thoughts, and you can take them for what they're worth. And I would appreciate your comments and tell me what you're doing to cope with your grief if you're going through it, please.